Hi everyone, I'm Jack. Welcome to the official IslesDen YouTube channel. We're going to be doing a lot more Islanders post-game show and podcasting content for this upcoming season. So if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. You can also find my weekly podcast on Twitter at Isles House, co-hosted by myself at IslesDen, Ethan at EthanGSN, and Rocco at Pizza Sports Guy, all on Twitter. Thank you for joining me. Isles post game. We're back. We're here for the good times and the bad times. And tonight felt like the first tough loss of the season. We're going to be having a special guest. We're going to go over the game, do the usual, leave your comments in the chat. Happy to engage with them later in the show. But this felt like the first loss of the season that it hurts to really not even just get a point. But yeah, let's get into it. So game starts. Bruins come in after a 7-1 loss last night, and contrary to the box score, they came out kind of flying. First shift of the game, it was kind of chaotic in the Islanders zone. I think Sorokin had to make a save or two, and the other way go the Islanders. Drouin drops just a beautiful pass to Horvat. He makes no mistake. 1-0 Islanders, like a minute into the game, and it's just like, all right, like we're gonna make a little statement here. We're the better team. Um, this is all business. And 3 minutes later, the Islanders are just pouring on the pressure. More good stuff from everybody. They're pushing pressure. They draw a penalty. They're 6-on-5, and Barzell just makes a disgusting pass to Kyle Palmieri, makes it 2-0 Islanders 5 minutes into the game. And the first period was kind of just like it kind of just felt like they coasted through the rest of it. That the Bruins didn't really put on much pressure. It just felt like the Islanders were in complete control, and they went into the intermission up 2-0. Um, Maybe they had a power play some point in there. Can't recall, but it was just it just kind of felt like an uneventful end to the first, onto the second, and that's where the events happen. Period starts, and Anders Lee takes a penalty in which we could argue the call. My view on it: these refs are not. You can't rely on these refs. That's the nice way of saying it. And I just don't love when veteran players almost put themselves in a position where a call can be made. However, the Islanders kind of limp their way through, but actually get the kill. And I want to say seconds, maybe a minute later, um, another unnecessary penalty taken, this time by Marshall Warren. And, I have a little bit of a different feel for that one. Anders Lee taking a penalty he doesn't have to take. I don't know if I have so much time for that. Marshall Warren, kid's a rookie. He's going to make mistakes. It happens. Hopefully, the penalty kill can bail him out. And, the Bruins were really pouring on the pressure. There was clearly a momentum swing, and they get their first it on that man advantage. It was, I believe, Lindholm in front. Just a good shot, good play by Boston. And the penalty kill didn't look great. And that will become a storyline later in this when we kind of go over the full scope of the special teams. So 2-1. And then, the game starts getting just like the game is just Islanders hockey, I would say, for the next few minutes. There's some chances back and forth. It's just kind of it's just unorganized. You don't know where the game's going to go. And Drouin has the puck in his own end. He kind of flips it all the way to the Bruins line, looking for Heineman, and just a weird play. I think Lindholm might have gotten away with a hand pass on this play, and the Bruins take it the other way. They swing it across. Pasternak finishes, makes it a 2-2 game, and just like that, you're like, "Whoa, okay, the Bruins are here. They do not want to get embarrassed like they did last night. Like this is a real game." And then I believe, what was it? About a minute later, Michael Eyssimont, he's he's kind of like at the half wall, and he flips it to the crease. Always a good play, pucks to the net. And this one also beats Sorokin. Kind of, I think it was tapped in. I don't know if it was Eyssimont who. I don't remember who threw it at the net, but it was a smart play. Bruins take the 3-2 lead, and that's where the Islanders finally call timeout. Um, a lot to unpack for the rest of the game for me. The Islanders went on to outshoot the Bruins from that point, from the timeout call up until 4 minutes left in the game, they outshot the Bruins 25-4. And in that time, they could not convert on the power play, which was really frustrating. It didn't look great either. There were times where I didn't love it from Wah when he pulled off the first unit a little bit early for the second. I mean, you got to win or lose with your best players on the ice, and flipping D'Angelo out there instead of Schaefer at one point. If we're gonna lose, let the young guys learn. So the Bruins get a power play early ish in the third, maybe midway through. Shot from the point from Morgan Geeky, beats Sorokin, 4-2 Bruins. Islanders get another power play. Chances come, but man, Korpisalo kind of stole the show tonight. 4-2, 5-2 was the final. Barzell, poor turnover on the last play there. And yeah, that was it. But a good start turns into 5 consecutive goals for the Bruins. And I have my opinions on this game. I'll start on the lighter side for me personally. I didn't love the special teams tonight, just a matter of conversion. I was really surprised when I saw that the power play hadn't scored a road goal this year because I felt like that they were really turning a corner. But that's just a stat that has to change because the next two are against Carolina and Washington on the road. You're going to probably need a power play goal if you want to come away with 1 or 2 points in that swing. So that's just straight up not good enough. Frustrating there because the Bruins too. I mean, when the Islanders played the Flyers the other day, Saturday afternoon, like losing that game and kind of just like seeing what the Flyers have and what they're building as a team, you're like, okay, I see the future there. The Bruins, it's not a game. They are not a good team, and you just kind of let them off the hook there. So 5-2 loss, and really my opinion on this game, I just think that this was a game in which the Islanders needed their goaltender to not even I can't even use the word just be average. Like he played poorly in my opinion. And it's just not good enough when you're giving up 3 goals or more in your first several starts of the season. The script has been flipped this season in my eyes. Usually it was this team can't score. Sorokin's getting the DeGrom treatment where, this guy will pitch 7 shutout innings. His team won't score a run and he doesn't get credit for a win. This season, I feel like it's been a little bit of the opposite. I think this team is putting up goals and they're not getting the goaltending from him. And it even makes you think more when, Rittich is in there and I think they've given up 2 goals each time he's been in net. And listen, we all know who the starter is. We all know who our guy is here, but something's got to change. I'll be fair. I'll go through the goals. The first goal, power play goal, I don't really have a problem with that one. The second one, I actually think I think that one is a little bit misunderstood, and I'll elaborate. It's a nice cross ice pass to Pasternak, and my issue here is when you watch Semyon Varlamov or even Rittich when they're in their position playing their game, Sorokin's just caught sliding on that play. He doesn't even give himself a chance on that shot, and it's not like this is a guy that he was not on he was on his offside there. He was on his right side there. So like he couldn't one time it. There's no he could have, but like he wasn't going to one time it. There's no reason to just completely commit to that post and just be caught completely sliding, and a goal scorer like Pasternak, he's gonna fool you every time. So didn't love that. And the third Bruins goal, the half wall play where they get it to the net. Once again, I understand that there's a guy, quote unquote, open at the crease, but I think Pajot does as good a job as he can protecting the net. That puck goes, that puck is not just like at the top of the blue. That puck is in the middle, close to the pad. To not stick your leg out there, the first game of the season, the Penguins scored a goal just like this. That's Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. This is Icymont and Janot and these boys. Like we got to be better than this. That needs to be that can't go in the net. And suddenly it's 3-2, and that brings us to the fourth goal, where it's a power play. It's a shot from the point, and it's like I don't even know where this guy is honestly. And suddenly it's 4-2. And we know this defense is suspect, but at some point, like we can't just lie to ourselves here. 19 shots at one point, and there were 4 goals. And it's not like the team quit. The team put up 35, 36 shots. Drawing penalties is a sign that you're controlling play, and just simply not good enough. And that's something that I'm looking forward to. I'm curious of how this all plays out because it's something I'm now worried about. 3 goals or more, and October is almost over in every single game. He started all of them but two. And lastly, to leave you on one positive before I bring the special guest on, I just like I said this, I tweeted this out a couple weeks ago. Whenever there hasn't been one game where you're not grateful to see Schaefer out there and thankful for those ping pong balls, because this guy, even when they're down in the game, and you could just see how badly he wants it, he's just like doing everything he can, skating through the zone, trying to create anything he possibly can. But it's not going to go in every time. And credit to Corpusalo, he was the best Boston Bruin tonight, and that that was a big play in the final score. So I'm going to bring on my guest here. He's going to let me know if maybe I'm being a little too hard on Sorokin. Maybe I didn't take away enough positives. We'll see the old analytics quiz, but this is a special guest to me, Islanders fan since 1975. And the reason I'm an Islander fan, get ready to meet my father,
Hey,
David. How are we
hey,
doing?
Jack. We're okay considering, the 5 goals in a row, and disappointing result.
It
But
feels like one of those games where we're walking out of UBS being season ticket holders in like the 2022 season.
it feels even more like, one of those dark ages at the Coliseum where walking
Yeah.
out, we're home in 10 minutes because there's nobody there.
I think I remember it was a game. I actually think I remember a game against Boston where I think like they were in like their white uniforms, or maybe it was against Ottawa. I don't know. It might even be on your Facebook page. Literally 6-0 in the second period. And it was one of the very few where we walked out. So I can't say it's that bad, but man, yeah, this was definitely a tough one.
Yeah, that was Ottawa. It is on my
Ottawa.
Facebook page, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, things aren't that bad. But it's a disappointing loss. It was really like a lot of, to me, it was about momentum. Um, in the
Agreed.
first, in the first period, we looked so good. We were, I was thinking like pucks, pucks, pucks. We're winning pucks. We're stealing pucks. We're controlling pucks. Um, it was our game, 2-0. Very little to complain about in that first period. There was that first shift, like you mentioned, and then Drouin with great speed gets up the wing, drops it to Horvat. Boom, we score. And then the next line with Barzal and Duclair makes a steal at the blue line, gets it to Barzal, who's on his butt and gets tripped, ends up on his butt. We get the advantage for the power play and score, before we even get the power play. And so we're looking, great. And there was other things in that period that were really good. The JG line had great shifts. And towards the end of the period, there was a breakout with Schaefer, somebody else, and Drouin. I think it was Horvat and Schaefer just coming into the line. These guys in such little spaces. Schaefer makes just a beautiful pass to Drouin, who doesn't end up being able to do anything with it, which was almost like a theme for him tonight. But I like him, and I'm not complaining about him. A couple of other.
Drouin's been a hell of a pickup. I agree with you there. His game isn't exactly one time, one touch finishing, but man, he's got it. Good pickup by Darsh.
Yeah, no, he's a skilled guy. You could see it. He's talented. He's fast, and talent counts. It shows up on the ice, as we've seen with our first round, first pick. Other things I liked. I really liked. Warren was very physical in the first period. He put Pasta on his butt,
Yep.
and then he got into it with Janot. And all in all, I thought it was a very strong period. There were some things that I didn't like in the first period. The first shift, I
Oh
think
boy.
Pellet had a bad clear, and just it looked like we were going to be in our own zone the whole time. And then watching Tony D'Angelo, who I like Tony D'Angelo. I think anybody who saw him come in last year is like a breath of fresh air.
100%.
But I saw today, I didn't see Tony dancing. I saw shaky Tony,
Yeah.
talking like not, giving it away, not strong. I saw slow Tony. He was slow
Just
to react.
I just have to say, Tony last season when he came in, like he just looked so fast because of what surrounded the team. Now, when
Right.
you look at him this year and you watch like Schaefer out there and all the speed on the ice, it's like Tony's not that fast anymore.
Yeah, no, he's looking a lot more like me. And then there was sloppy Tony, just not, not good on the puck. And it seems like almost like he's, either too jumpy with it or too slow with it. Um,
Yeah.
but I have plenty of other good things to say about him in the game. But overall, I thought the first period was a great period. All 2-0, all good.
All you could ask for on the road too. Just a good start. It felt like, all right, like I wasn't like a lot of these Islanders teams in the past, I actually have felt more I felt less nervous about this team, and I think it's the ability to put the puck in the net, so I don't really think we're gonna go the rest of the game without a goal, which is crazy to say given the past, but yeah, I didn't see the second period coming. What were your takeaways on it?
Well, it really, feeds into the momentum idea where, Lee gets that penalty, like it or not, he gets a penalty. He's tied up on the wall with, I don't think it was McAvoy. We killed that penalty. So it's not all bad. There was Pellick and Schaefer did a nice job clearing some pucks out on that. But then Warren takes the penalty. And yes, I'm not going to beat up on Warren. It wasn't a good penalty. And I'm sure he'll learn from it. But they got the Lindholm goal shortly after. And that really, led into or fed into this momentum change where, a shift or two later, Warren had a poor clear. Geeky hits the crossbar.
Yep.
And I remember looking at the clock. There was 13:48 to go in the second period, and we haven't recovered yet from the penalties. And right after that, we get that shift where Pasternak waits out Sorokin
Yep.
and puts it 5-hole between them. And then even after that, I don't know who made the pass and who received the pass. I think it was 81. I forget. I forget.
Icy makes the I think Icy makes the pass into the crease. Let me
No,
see.
but this is before that goal. Even they split the D. They split Tony D and Warren on a pass, and they were able to get in for a one-on-one shot with Sorokin, which he saves. Didn't look like anything spectacular, but it just continued that. With Warren and Tony D, which is why I think they're not going to have very good numbers. But you'll tell me. And then they got that Essenmont goal, which was a lot like the Crosby goal, like you mentioned. And then the timeout, which was, I wish we had 5 timeouts like in the NBA, but I would hate it in real life. But after the timeout, we got a couple of really strong shifts. So, the JG line.
They woke up.
Yeah, Barzell said something in between periods, which I feel, and I think anybody who watches or who's been watching would agree with, is that Duclair makes plays. He wins pucks. He fights for pucks. He's fast. And so he also helped, that momentum change after. Then we had that Heineman to Horvat, or was it Horvat? Heineman to Horvat pass that Horvat did not score, but it was a sick pass, cross ice pass on a breakout, and Korpisalo made 2 saves, worthy of number one star stuff on Horvat on that shift. Barzal's line continued it, and then they got that 4-minute power play, and that was after the timeout. So it was like, okay, they're this team is, like you said, they're going to score goals. They can score. The first unit, though, was very sloppy in that. And it was actually, I think, the Tony D's moment of the game. He had a great zone. He took it himself. It looked like Matthew Schaefer had a great entry. And the second unit, a lot of Simon Holmstrom, great passes and great chances, but, they didn't score. And so despite the good timeout and the response and still having a minute left on that penalty, it was an awful period.
Yeah, it was tough. And like It's tough because like the power play's been better. It just it's also like percentages and everything. I think this is like I think their ranking in the league, I think it's somewhat respectable. So it's just not going to go in every time. Like sometimes it's just not your night, and that's how it felt offensively after those 3 goals. But yeah, definitely was like I still had hope going into the third, just because we're playing Corpusalo, we're playing this Bruins team back to back, but this Bruins team is going to be focused because like they wanted those 2 points to just get that 7-1 out of their memory.
Right. Yeah, I feel the same way with the power play. Our power play has been historically bad, like in the last couple of years. I don't know how those coaches made it through a full season, but
Good
um,
question.
you can clearly the eye test on this power play. It's night and day. They do a very good job, gaining the zone. Um, they have great puck movement. And no, not every power play is perfect, but I'm sure nobody else's power play is perfect either, unless you have Draisaitl and McDavid. But um, but they really do a good job on it. And tonight, this first unit struggled at one point. The second unit, at the beginning of the second period, um, I don't know why they got the first power play time. I don't know if the first
It
guys
looked good
unit guys
though.
were out, but they again Holmstrom and Lee. And I had a thought about Lee in the first period, watching him in front of the net. That the NHL does not have an offensive rebound stat,
Yeah,
but
that's so
he
true.
leads this team in offensive rebounds. He is all over the rebounds in front of that net. And he may not be the sweetest passer or the smoothest guy, but he is a beast
Yeah.
um, to handle. And so the first unit, though, came back and had a lot of good chances, and things got better. And then we had a bad pass by Lee, a breakout that led to a Pellick penalty, that led to the geeky one timer, which I think was still, over the faceoff circle more than it was the point. But
Yeah.
and I'm not, I'm not going to criticize Sorokin for not being able to stop that, but he is, it's geeky, and I love. He's on my fantasy team. I'm thrilled for him, but he's not Ovechkin. He's not Mike Bossy, and so you in a 3-2 game, you really want to see Sorokin make that save, and he didn't. Then Barzal got a little chippy, meaningless. He barely held Lindholm, and he got a penalty for that. Um,
That that's Zadorov. See, that's Zadorov play where Pellick takes that slashing penalty.
right.
That penalty is taken because in my opinion, this might sound crazy to you. Pellick doesn't take that penalty. If Pellick doesn't feel the need to slash this guy if his goalie is playing an average game, but Pellick at that point is like, fuck, this guy's gonna score every time he's coming out there. Excuse the
Right.
French, but that's what I think is going through the guy's head. Like, I can't let him shoot there. Like, he's not gonna make the save.
I don't know if that's fair because, maybe they just do it for the media. But, you talk to anytime they ever talk about Sorokin, it's, he's everything. He keeps them in every game. He wins them all these games. So, maybe in reality, it's like, fuck, I got to get back. But, maybe you're right. And it wasn't much of a slash either. And Zadorov's not a guy with, a bag of tricks.
Yeah.
I'd love to have him on my team. We could really use him on this team for lots of reasons. But, and then they had that, then I will say another thing before I get to, Barzell, got caught at the blue line with the puck with the empty net.
Yeah, it's just the game's
You know,
over.
that's game. But for Warren in the third period, because they got to play they got to play the 3 pairs. It's not like they can't. I wish we had another defender to just mix in, not necessarily for Warren, but for all of them.
Yeah.
Warren, very brave to me in the third period. He's keeping the puck in. He helped draw a penalty by keeping the puck in, and I think Lindholm took a bad penalty in front of the net. So I like the confidence that he plays with and the grit. But there's going to be growing pains, like you said.
I think we're this game. I think what my takeaway is altogether is, opening night in Pittsburgh, the Islanders lose 4-3. And the Penguins make a nice play at the end of the game. Malkin makes a brilliant pass.
Yeah.
The next game, what was the next game? I think it was Washington. you can't put that game. You can't. They got dominated, and they were just outclassed in that game. The
They didn't
Winnipeg
show
game,
up at the beginning of that game. They were down like
yeah,
2-0. Yeah.
bad game from the team. The Winnipeg game, it's 2-1 in the second period. Stanley scores that goal. It's 3-1. The Islanders can't recover because it's a Winnipeg team that is stout defensively.
Right.
So, all up until now, I've just been giving the 3+ goals stat. I've been kind of giving it the eye roll. I've been kind of giving Sorokin the benefit of the doubt here. I think this game now has me genuinely skeptical. And someone commented, they didn't play well enough tonight. The power play went over 4. They just weren't good enough offensively. They weren't good enough here, and here. And I'm like, I get it, but 19 shots on goal allowed, and it was 14 by the time it was 3 goals for Boston. I think it's perfectly reasonable to expect your goaltender, who's supposed to be your one going into this season. We didn't know how the forwards are going to play. Certainly didn't know how the defense was going to play, but our one edge in goal that's supposed to be there. Am I being too hard on him? Do you disagree with any of the assessments I have on any of the goals? I'm all ears.
It's funny because what'd you say? It was 4 goals on what, 15 shots?
4 goals. No, so 4 goals on 19, but I think by
Right.
the time it was 3-2, it was like 3 goals on 14 shots. It's like, come on, man.
Right. It reminds me of that old John Tortorella quote where it's like the 25%. I'm sick of the 25% rule, where
Oh
his
man, that's
goals,
so good.
and very much like that. Um, I it's to me, how I am. It's a long season. You got to be patient, and I think like if you look at after the first 3 games, Lee was done. He needed to go, and but it is troubling. Sorokin's play is troubling. It was bold to change the goal. It's something bold for the Islanders, at least. Maybe not Matthew Darsh's Islanders, but
Yeah.
previously it would have been really bold to fire a goalie coach mid-season and bring somebody else in. And the immediate result isn't good. And so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And I feel the same way as most Islander fans do about Big Save Dave, that he's really not Big Save Dave, but we have to put him in net.
Yeah, got to give the guy a chance. I mean, he's given us a reason to have hope there. So that's very encouraging.
And Sorokin may need to feel like, maybe he'll be embarrassed by the performance. I don't know, but
So have you ever seen like those have you ever seen in baseball, like, I don't know if you saw like the Trey Turner thing a couple years ago, and the Mets did it with Lindor, where these guys are batting like, what is it, like 212, 215. They're like one of their last 30, and they go up to take their first at bat, and the whole stadium just gets on their feet and just gives the guy a standing ovation. And honestly, it's kind of worked. I'm like kind of thinking like, man, the UBS might have to give Ilya Sorokin a standing ovation to kind of like say like, we're behind you, man. Like anything to kind of get him going at this point to playing. Like the thing is winning a game 5-4, 4-3. That's not getting going when I think of Ilya Sorokin, and I think that's totally fair. Like I think of Ilya getting going when the Islanders win a game 3-2, and he makes 28 saves on 30 shots, and we haven't seen that guy yet. So I'm thinking like, what do we have to do to get that guy?
Well, your Isles House crew has a lot of followers, so maybe between your crew and yourself and your Twitter gang, we can get an Ilya chant going right at the beginning. Right after the national anthem at the next game. I like the idea. Maybe if that starts right away, it'll add some energy for him.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be getting a standing ovation in Carolina or Washington. So yeah, it'll have
He
to
may
start
by
next
the end of
week.
the game, but that's it.
Yeah, maybe by the end of the game. Very good there. All right, so let's get to the traditional analytics quiz here. Um, Stefan didn't do so great. I'm pretty up and down. I've done really well sometimes, and I've struck out fully. So it's your turn. We're gonna first go through the defensive pairs. This is by expected goals at 5-on-5 while on the ice. So rank me the pairs from worst to best for tonight.
I think it was consistent throughout the game. I think D'Angelo and Warren were were the weakest. I don't think it was a huge separation, but it was separation enough. I think Pellick and Pullock were second, and I think Schaefer and Mayfield were best.
Oh, okay, good. So, okay, Schaefer and Mayfield were the best. They were excellent. Their expected goals percentage was 87.7. I agree with you. Matches the eye test. However, per the analytics, Warren and D'Angelo actually set up some quality high danger looks tonight,
Okay.
and their expected goal share is surprisingly, like, this is the highest I've ever seen D'Angelo's expected goal share. I'm almost questioning if I'm looking at the right thing, but
Mhm.
I am. He had an 84.5 with Warren. The worst pairing tonight by a landslide was Pellick and Pollock at 26.7. You have to
Right.
remember though, like, there weren't that many shots on goal, so that's gonna make it a little less balanced for the defensive pairs. Like, they're just in a when you give up 4 goals in that situation, like, you're kind of in a losing spot. Um, so those were the D pairs. It was Pellick, Pollock in last, Warren, D'Angelo second, and Schaefer Mayfield, which seems to be the Islanders seem to have nailed that pair coming out of training camp because they've looked really good this year.
I really like the way Mayfield's persona now. Like he made a great play at one point. I don't know. He stopped a break. It was a. I don't know if it was Pasternak or somebody, but he just reminded me of like a pirate. Like he just was smiling. He knew he beat the guy. The guy's got a ton of talent. He's like, yeah, I got it. And he just plays with that, with a little cockiness and attitude that does not his style of game does not deserve. But he play he I think that he's showing his value very much as a mentor, as a guy who's going to stand up for his teammates, and a guy who's going to lay it all out there for his team.
So pretty good. You're 2 out of 3 on the pairs. I'm gonna go to the forward lines for tonight. Go from This is gonna be a tough one. Remember, 5-on-5, not they scored 6-on-5. All right, go. Yeah,
So
try
that's
your
six
best.
on five. So being that wasn't a power play goal, but it still counted in that kind of
Yeah, so the way
way.
these analytics are graded, they're extremely they're extremely focused on like how many people, like if it's 6-on-5, 5v6, like any situation like that isn't calculated into this.
All right. All right. So I can't be afraid to be wrong. So I'm going to say the number one line was the Pajot line.
They were
Um,
the worst.
there you go.
It's tough. No, it's hard. It's like you've to my take on analytics is they could be useful and they're great, but when you don't um when you don't add in, they're just like quantitative stats like points, assists, goals, like there just has to be a level of context added. So
Right.
yeah, they weren't great tonight apparently through this.
Right.
I thought the Islanders played a pretty good game, so I don't really agree with how low their goal share was, but we'll continue. Who do you think was third worst?
So I want to say about the fourth line wasn't on the ice that much, and they weren't bad when they were on the ice. So I
Correct.
think they're going to screw me up here. But I would say that the second. So I had them as my best line. That first line. I'm going to say that the Duclair, Barzal, Palmieri were the second. Were the second best.
Second worst.
They were the second worst.
Second
All right. So
worst.
what?
Yeah, yeah. So
All
Lee,
right. So I'm
Pageau,
going
and
one.
Lundstrom. Yeah.
All right. So
Is that what you meant?
no.
No.
So I got it backwards so far. My 1 and 2 are 4 and 3. So
Yep.
I'm consistent. So then I'm going to go with my third best line would be the Horvat line, and my last best line would be the fourth line.
So you're saying the best? Who? Hold on, I'm getting confused with the word. Like who do you think was the best line? Period.
I thought the best line was Pajot's line.
Well, no, we already established that was wrong. But
Right.
which one would you
Oh,
guess was the
which
best
one
line?
they are analytics is saying it?
Yeah.
Well, I being that I'm so off, I'm going to have to say the fourth line because I don't think
you,
so at all.
you would have had it because you said the fourth line you were correct on. Like they were out there and they were fine, But the Horvat, Drouin, and Heineman line, which you actually outlined, making you first of all, we went through the goal. You talked about like the multiple chances that like Horvat had through Heineman, like
Yeah.
that they were by far the best line tonight for the Islanders, and then
Okay.
the McLean, Cizikas, Siplikov line was actually pretty good. Um, yeah, I'm curious. Like, hopefully Shabanov can come back soon. I mean, I think that like underratedly with him in the lineup the last few games, I think that he could have added a boost in the shootout in overtime tonight. Like, you only get 2 goals, and like
Right.
he just seems like a guy. I don't know. He just kind of has a knack for it. I think I really like the player, so I just hope he's back on the ice as soon as possible because like as much as I love Kyle McLean, he's just a different. These are two different guys.
Yeah, I agree. I when watching Druin go up the wing, that first goal that we scored, I was like, who is that? I thought like, is that Shabanov? Because he's moving so well. And then I know Shabanov's not playing, so I was going to be surprised it was Druin. I
Yeah,
didn't see he showed a lot of speed there.
so
But yeah,
smart. He's such a smart player, Drouin. Like I'm just surprised. Like I really am. I knew Drouin was always good, but I always knew he was injury prone, and I knew not to expect goals. I just didn't know
right,
he was this good, and I didn't know he was this dialed in either. I love the way he plays. He's so focused. I mean,
right,
you really couldn't ask for more from him. Maybe he shouldn't be in that spot on the power play, but that goes back to coaching more than Drouin. Like, I don't enough of these one timers with Drouin. Like, he's
right,
just not that guy who's going to finish that. Like, there's a handful of players that I think would be better in that spot. Like even Duclair, Notley, Holmstrom, probably a better shot. So
right.
yeah, credit to him.
Maybe that's a spot for Heineman. So
Yeah, actually, that's another guy. I knew I was missing someone. Heineman for sure. Shabanov, a lot of these guys. Siplikov, I don't look at as much of a shooter,
right.
so maybe not him.
I think Alan Quine is still playing in Europe. If we want to bring,
Is he really still playing?
he might be in Europe somewhere.
Quick Google
Um,
search.
but yeah, I looking up Druin's stats at some point this season on Hockey DB. Um, I've always thought of Druin as being a disappointment. You know, he was a third overall pick one year, and he didn't pan out. He was looked at as a disappointment. He bounced around a bit, but when I looked at his numbers, his points per game is very good. He produces. And so I'm really encouraged by watching him play and knowing that he can produce. And so, maybe he's not the one timer guy, but, but on, every day, every game, every shift, he's a good guy to be able to roll out there and a very good signing, I think.
Absolutely. So we're gonna shift gears. We're gonna get to comments because we actually have a lot of them tonight, relative to how much we usually have. But just want to say in the comments, I let my position on Sorokin be known. I'm open ears. I'm willing to hear anyone out who has any different take on it. But this is more of a reactionary show, not major big picture stuff. But what I saw tonight gave my honest assessment. And it wasn't, I may not have gone this far, Kavan. Re-signed Grice, Thomas Grice. What a great run he had here in net. He had seasons like this too. Remember behind those Doug Weight defenses, they weren't so kind to him either. So yeah, love Greiser. Sure Brittany would appreciate that comment. Chris, good friend of the program. Den, the goalie is a loser. I don't know how, but they need to find a way to get rid of him and find a real starter. So I'll approach this question logistically because I already let my thoughts be known. But the other day, someone tweeted out, let me know what you think of this one. Tweeted out, the Oilers would have 4 Stanley Cups already if they had Sorokin in net. And just sit there and look at this tweet. And the Islanders have their issues defensively, and the Oilers have one of the best teams in the league. But the Oilers goalies and stuff, they're not exactly put in the best position either. And I don't know, in front of Bouchard, Nurse, Cece in the past, these guys are going to put him in positions that are kind of tough. So I would just be a little bit careful with that take, but it does show the potential value other teams might see in him but I just doubt he'd be willing to waive that no move clause.
I think that that Chris is or whoever, not Chris didn't say it, but whoever said that they would have won 4 cups is half right. I think Sorokin was definitely sharp enough to get 2 cups earlier in his career based on his play alone. But again, I in this game it was 2-0, and then the Islanders were outshot 10-1, maybe even a little more than that, and he gave up 3 goals. And you know, were they all his fault? I don't think so. Other people might disagree. Maybe they expect him to stop everything. I find fan bases are very similar in 2 areas in sports: the baseball closer and the hockey goalie. Everybody else's closer is like Mariano Rivera. Your closer isn't, and everybody else's goalie is Vasilevsky, and your goalie isn't. And Sorokin isn't. But he's better than this, and I think he will bounce back.
I actually think it's funny you say that, because I was thinking about that comparison the other day, and I kind of look at the goalie similar to an NFL kicker, because the kicker is like that guy on the sideline where, don't say anything to the kicker. Like you just don't, because you're worried about like his mental makeup and like if the guy's fragile or if he's going to fold under the pressure. And just kind of like the way some fans in this fan base like react and kind of have the attitude towards Sorokin. It's like, don't touch the kicker. It just kind of gives me like a little bit of that feel. Isles rumor, I'm not having fun anymore. This game, it's a little less fun without Shabunov, I think. I mean, it's still fun seeing Schaefer and Warren out there. I'm still having a little bit of fun even tonight. But when Shabunov's out there, it just gets even more fun because like the unpredictability when he's out there. So less games losing to really bad teams, please, and we'll start having fun again.
Well, I want to tell Isles rumor that I feel bad for him, and I hope maybe that your post game has helped him to some degree. But I find this team very entertaining. We may not be great. We're probably not going to make the playoffs, although I'm optimistic, like you are. This team reminds me a lot, and I mentioned it to you another time, the 93 Islanders. There was a lot of goal scoring on that team. There were 4 guys over 30 goals who had Ray Ferraro, who only had like 14 goals during the regular season because he didn't play a lot. You had Malikov with like 16 goals on the defensive line. So to me, there's a lot of flash on this team that we're not used to flash at all. So I encourage Isles Rumor to enjoy the flash and the excitement of Matthew Schaefer. This is not nothing. I don't recall ever seeing an Islander defenseman play like this.
Wait, so this was actually, I forgot to get on this topic for a second. So obviously my dad here, he has been an Islander fan since 1975. So with this organization, he's basically seen it all. I wanted to ask him, like, is there a player you would compare Schaefer to, which you already said no, but is it fair to like kind of have like those Potvin type aspirations and hopes for this kid, even just a month in, seeing just like the raw talent that we've been accustomed to?
So I don't think it's a fair comparison. Potvin walked into a far worse team, and he was physically like a different guy. He was like a rock, and he wasn't necessarily like a Bobby Orr speedster, super talented. But I have never really seen Barzal when he first came in had that kind of electricity, but not like, Barzal could light up a room like a lamp, but Schaefer can light up a building. I have not seen this kind of electricity from a player, this kind of combination of speed. And hockey was a lot different when Potvin was there. Nobody was really, except Bobby Orr was unique, and as great as Potvin was, I don't feel it's fair to even compare him to Bobby Orr.
One more question. Sorry to interrupt. So since you've watched it all, I can't really. So for me, like Matthew Schaefer is the most talented player in this organization since, I don't know, the 91 guy that walked out. Like for you,
Right.
Matthew Schaefer is the most talented Islander since who?
It's funny when I remember, and I said it earlier before. I wasn't going to mention '91, but when we went to the first game where he played, that was the Pittsburgh game. He
Yep.
scored, and we'd been watching this hockey team for a long time.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure I said to you that night, I was like, you know what, talent really matters. Like
Oh
when
yeah.
you have talent, like this guy can do things. It's almost like driving your old Infinity. I could do things in your Infinity that I couldn't do in my pickup truck. And so Schaefer can really do things. Yeah, so I think that's fair. I think before Palfi had that kind of flash, and there are other guys I'm sure the fan base could point out. To me, Bossy in retrospect was the was the best. He was the best.
Yeah.
He was. I watch a lot of those old games, especially through the pandemic. But to me, Bossy is the best Islander there's ever been.
There's this one play that like I watched over the summer, just going through like the highlights I've made and stuff. And there's this one play in the Stanley Cup final where Dennis Potvin takes it like coast to coast, and it is just one of the greatest goals that like I feel like it's one of the greatest goals in team history that nobody talks about.
Right. Well, you're going to have to point out that highlight to me. And by the way, I know I talk about Bossy. We're talking about all the great players of all time. My two favorite players are behind me here. That's
Gary
nice
Howard.
and Howard. Yeah, I love the gritty player, the fighter. Not fighting for the sake of fighting, not the goon, but the guy who stands up for his teammates and can put the puck in the net. And Gary Howard did score over 20 goals one year. But so anyway, we can go on to answering more questions.
Feel like feels like the Islanders focus too heavily on Pasternak on the penalty kill. Geeky and Lindholm are also weapons, and they showed it. Yeah, the Geeky's proved himself as a pretty good player playing with Pasternak over the last few years. I do agree, maybe a little too much attention towards them, but yeah, I don't know. I just can't really for me, like I hate to say it, but my head just keeps going to the goalie tonight, and it won't be like this every post game we lose. It won't. You could watch the previous ones, but tonight it's just like, yeah, you know what? I'm okay with giving Geeky the shot there. Make the save.
Yeah, I think you gotta take your chances with Geeky over Pasternak and anybody else in that.
And by the way, that's a full swing for us too, because I have Sorokin in fantasy. You have Geeky in fantasy, even though we're not playing each other. Yeah, that's another reality there. Already clicked on that one. Data Dom, obviously co-host this program all the time. Your dad is a far better co-host than me. Guy sounds way more composure and better vibes. Give yourself more credit, Dom.
I agree. First of all, Dom, you're way better looking. So I'll give you that. And you're more prepared, and your analytics are really good. You do a great job. And I don't want to have to fill in for you often.
It's so fun, like giving the quizzes to other people and then and then talking about it with him after. I'm excited for his comments on this one. Pajot line outchance 4-1 at 5-on-5 and over 10 minutes of ice time, unacceptable. Yeah, unacceptable is correct. However, this is probably the Pajot line. This is actually like one of the few. This is like one of the few players I can give some grace to right now. I think Pajot has been the most underrated player on this team for the first month of the season, and it's from being playing his game, just playing really well defensively. He's even chipped in some points. So bad night for them. That's going to happen. Was my question for you after the game? I just want to I probably will ask you. Do you think it was more his cause or Holmstrom or Lee, more of his line mates? But yeah, definitely not good enough tonight.
I thought they were the number one line, so don't ask me.
Yeah, just right on to the next one from there. What are your predictions for the upcoming games? Oh, so I think they're in Carolina first, and then Washington. So Carolina I'm looking forward to this game. This is like one that's circled on my personal calendar. I hate this team. There's no hiding from that, and it's from the playoff series. Like I'm tired of them, and this is the first time in a while where I feel like, okay, you could take your 1-0 lead and you could play your BS game, but like it's not going to work because like we have guys like Schaefer, we have game breakers on this team that could break through that bullshit. And I think that there's a lot of talent on this roster now. However, You just wish that Sorokin was in really good form going into the game because Carolina loves to throw these pucks on net. And I've always liked Varlamov against Carolina a little bit better because he's just going to be in position. The puck's going to go to him. He's going to eat it up. So this is a test for Rittich. I mean, look, last time we played in Carolina, we had our goalie ducking away from shots. So can't have that.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the formula for winning.
Washington's a scheduled loss. And that's how I look at it. Obviously, I'm not going to go into the game thinking, yeah, no reason to watch. We're going to lose, but it's going to be really tough to expect even 2 or 3 points here. So I think I'd be thrilled with a split. I'd be happy with 2 overtime losses. You just want to get to overtime at least once in these next two because let's face it, these are the two best teams in the East right now. Maybe Devils too. I'll give them that. But yeah, this is the first real test since this team has found some level of confidence.
I think you're right. I think it's a great test. I am not expecting much, which I like because when
It's
I don't
better
expect
than
much,
it's better than your normal answer of I don't know.
that is, I do lead the league, and I don't know. So I'm not expecting them to play. I expect them to show some guts and effort and speed and fight. But they are, Carolina's a better team than they are, top to bottom, and the Capitals, are also a very good team. Apparently, I still have a hard time believing that, but. But I like going in not expecting much because that's how I went into the Edmonton game, that we're going to lose that one.
Exactly. And something I've learned here quickly, and we laughed about this on the Isles House podcast when I said it, then Ethan and Rocco, they couldn't stop laughing. It's like they go into these games and you expect, like, as a fan, you're like, all right, it's going to be a tough one. But, like Matthew Schaefer, this kid is actually special. And I said it before the season, like, I think he's going to have a different effect morally on this team. And it's like, this kid's not a loser. Like, he's not going in here to just finish 12th, 13th. Like he wants to win and he's going to do everything in his power. And this isn't like, love him, but this isn't like Kyle McLean doing everything in his power. Like this guy's a real difference maker. So you just got to hope the stars can shine and they can pull it out.
100%. I agree.
I'll be honest. We will be okay. All part of the process. Love the content, guys. Big David Net versus Canes. Tough road trip. Yeah. I love this comment. Just put us at ease, tomorrow's a new day. Big test, but no expectations for this team going into the season. Like you just hope that they can walk in there and just not have a care in the world and get 2 points.
Yeah, I like this comment also.
Yeah, this is kind of like a needed comment right now. What do you guys think is the disconnect from the national media that holds Sorokin as a top 3 goalie despite how he plays? Listen to The Athletic today, and they discussed Greco's firing and said they believe he could number 1. What do they see that we don't? So if I'm perceiving this properly, like you're asking us why we think there's a kind of a discrepancy here of why they think he's a number 1 type goalie in the NHL, and we are sitting here wondering why he gave up 4 goals on 19 shots. um, I think that it has a lot to do with the Islanders. Honestly, they're not in the public eye as much as other teams. If we were the Canadians right now, if this was the Maple Leafs, if this was even like the Rangers or Blackhawks, like the questions would be out the New York it'd be everywhere in like the hockey media. And I think that sometimes we fly under the radar. And this team also has a different reputation than most. Like this is a team that has been one of the last in goals for over the last few years. So whenever they have any sort of success, Sorokin gets a lot of credit for it. So, people like to, it's just, I think it's due to people not paying attention. Simple as that. What do you think?
I agree. I think that the national media is behind on what's happening in the local markets. Probably that way with all teams, except for Toronto and Montreal, and maybe some other original 6. But I really do think they're on reputation and they're not on watching these games.
I'm fully with you.
The Islanders' Twitter, and I'm sure other teams' Twitters are no different, is volatile. And I saw in that second period the Sorokin, the anger towards Sorokin come out, and that's not coming from one moment or one game. That's coming from watching him for an extended period of time. And if the national media, you know, you know, that's kind of the drawback with national media over local. They just don't see
100%. So lost my train here. Kenny Kaminsky, the team isn't going to be perfect, but you need a big save every once in a while that undermines the team's confidence. 3 goals in 3 minutes is backbreaking. Yeah, and you know what? I was actually impressed with the team's response to outshoot Boston 25-4. This is not they've shown their it- sometimes shit happens and it's going to snowball, and it did for 3 minutes, and their goalie couldn't come up big for them, but they didn't just like sit there and give up like people are acting like they did. Just because their power play went over 3 and they couldn't score, it happens. This isn't the worst ranked power play in the league anymore. They're somewhat respectable, and I liked their response from that. Um, but yeah, I fully agree with you. Sometimes like you need a save, and it's the timing, it's the way it happens, and it was too much to overcome tonight.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. You do need a save like that. He did not do that tonight, and you are correct. Though I do agree with you, Jack, that there's a lot of games you watch where that happens, and then the team is dead, and there's just no energy, and that is not the case with this team. This team battled and took chances.
Let's see. So this, I'll be honest, once again, this reminds me of how Boone used to use Devin Williams for the Yankees all year in high leverage situation spots to get him going. Frustrated. I do like your Trey standing. Oh, you like the standing ovation idea. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Love that. Thank you for that feedback. Yeah, it just feels like I don't know. This guy needs some. This I feel like with Sorokin, it's mental for some reason. I don't think it's a physical problem. So I mean, anything we can to get him going. And as for Devin Williams, I mean, honestly, you're better off to speak on that than myself because I'm kind of out of touch. I'm definitely out of touch with the Yankees and most of baseball. Hell, the World Series is going on right now.
Yeah. My 11th place finish in fantasy baseball is evidence of my expertise. The thing with the Islander fans is we're great supportive fans, and so it won't take much to
Yeah.
turn this crowd around. If you look at Leonard and Varley and Sorokin, and you go back to Chico and Billy, it didn't take. You put in that performance. These fans are behind you, and they'll stay behind you. And so, um, the ball's going to be in Soroki's court to kind of get the crowd to respond.
You know, to me, there's no better example of symbolizing Islanders fans than when we talk about Ross Johnston. This is a guy that I think had like 5 career points. When he came back to UBS Arena, the entire place gave him a standing ovation and a video montage. And even a week ago, when this guy miraculously somehow had a 3 point night, Islanders Twitter is just flooded with, "Oh my God, Ross Johnston, we literally love you." So it's like it doesn't take much. You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah, one good hit, two great saves. We'll see.
Yeah. James, if Rittich plays well Thursday, he should be starting, even though paying Sorokin 8.5 million, he looks lost right now. Uh no. We gotta keep James. I get your frustration here, but no, we can't do that. The only chance this team has to have tangible success this season is by getting really good goaltending. It's been below average so far, but at some point, like you gotta go. You gotta make so you can't start playing with Sorokin's head even more. Like this is kind of like this is the opposite of giving him a standing ovation. This is saying, yeah, you suck. Like we can't we can't do this. But I fully get your frustration. And if Dave pitches like a 30 out of 31 saves, I have no problem giving him more games. I think that's beneficial to Sorokin. But yeah, man, if Rittich plays tonight, I think the Islanders win. So it's tough.
Yeah, it's funny because when he talks about goalie coaches, says he's not a goalie coach. He can't be a goalie coach. It's a different game now, but he does talk that he can talk the mental game. And he does talk to Sorokin about the mental game. And I wonder, I'll just go on what, Waz the expert. He was the goalie. He knows the goalie mental game. And if Wad did what James is suggesting, I would totally back it. He knows what he's dealing with more than I do or any of us do. But so if Wad decided, well, we're going to roll Rittich until he shows he can't do it, then I'm on board for that.
It's funny too, because going into the season and even 3 games into the season, I have not really sung Waz praises, but all he's done with Sorokin is be 100% completely supportive. All he's done is put together line combinations that are scoring at a clip we haven't seen in years. The defense could be better, but let's be honest about the personnel. I think he's honestly done, like, through October. I gotta kind of eat some crow on that one. I think he's done a good job. So he's doing everything he can for Sorokin. He's talking to him after practice in the media. He's not saying I'm sick of the 25% rule.
Right.
He's been there for his guy. So yeah, you just gotta hope he gets it going. What are the chances we see Tony DeAngelo scratched? I don't look at this like I do with Cizikas, where the fans constantly are asking for him to be scratched. And I think, like, Cizikas will never be scratched. Tony DeAngelo, he will be scratched, but it's going to have to be more egregious than this, because Wah loves this guy. Why? I don't know. Last year, 19 points in 35 games. He's putting his unit up there on the power play. Asking chances we see it versus what I think are two different things. I honestly don't know if I would scratch him at this moment, because I think Warren has a little bit of learning to do still. You could scratch him for Boquist, but it's not like Boquist has been incredible either. So Boquist will get his shot. What do you think?
Well, the first thing I want to do is tell President Lee that his name and his icon there, his President Lee picture, is a family favorite in our house. We love that President Lee, image. Just to be a wise ass, wasn't Tony D great tonight based on the analytics?
Yeah, he was actually. He was analytically strong, which is so rare too, of all
Right.
nights.
I think maybe when, if I don't see them scratching him until they get Romanov back, at least. And then maybe you put Boquist with Romanov and Tony D takes a seat. He does have, it's like you mentioned the other night. I think you posted it on Twitter. We got the full Tony D experience. He made a turnover and then he scored the goal, when the puck came back the other way. And we're getting the full Tony D experience. And if his pluses can outweigh his minuses, maybe he'll stay in the lineup.
Yeah. That was the full experience. It was nice that it ended up on the good side. We're gonna go a little bit rapid fire here. So Dom said Sorokin has an 8.69 through 7 games. His worst season prior is 9.07. We're due for positive regression there, but yeah, it's like I think it's okay to be a little bit critical right now. James, I understand your point on Rittich, but if it was Varlamov, would you feel the same way? All right. You got me here, James. I would make that man the starter right away. And different body of work, different career, different level of trust. I mean, you have to understand, I've watched David Riddick for years around the NHL, and it hasn't been in the conference finals. It hasn't been in the playoffs. I've watched Varlamov out there. I mean, to me, Varlamov's like a really good, solid NHL goalie that you could always count on. I don't have that same trust yet in Rittich. We'll see if I can get there. For the record, the Athletic said there are execs that still believe he's the best goalie in the league. That's the perspective of Toronto media. Thanks for shouting out the question, guys. Thank you for listening. I'll be honest. And I'll be honest with this. That is just crazy, man. Like, there's some great goalies in this league that people don't even talk about. And my God, I don't even know it's just such a lack of paying attention. I think that's what it all gets back to.
Yeah, I mean, look, the previous comment, what the save percentage is under 9. It's his worst, ever. I don't know what they're. I don't trust the Toronto media anyway. So
Yeah, they've been spewing up a bunch of you know what for a while, but
yeah,
thank you guys so much for listening. Over an hour long is probably our longest one. Um, Thank you for joining, Dave. Appreciate it.
thank you for having
And
me.
yeah, Islanders play Thursday in Raleigh. We'll be doing an Isles House post game show / podcast as usually scheduled after that one. Friday night. Not gonna do a post game on a Friday night, and then we'll get back to it next week. But yeah, once again, thanks every guys. Thanks everyone.
Have a good night. Thank you.